That's On Point tonight. Emily Jashinsky is here of The Federalist. We've certainly gotten a lot closer to fire. The smoke is getting a lot warmer. Are Republicans who are, say, Trump skeptical starting to get worried?
Well, there's reporting in CNN to that effect, that people close to Trump were made very nervous by Hutchinson's testimony. But Leland, you made a lot of really good points. That last one you made, I think, is particularly important, that this is actually just gossip that she heard at work, something that she heard at work that in practice doesn't make a lot of sense. Engel himself, Peter Alexander of NBC News, is now reporting would be willing to testify along with the other person mentioned in this story to the effect that it didn't happen. And the evidence that you showed on the screen, the diagram of the beast, was as good of evidence as any that the story wasn't correct. And I'm not calling her a liar at all. I think she probably overheard something that may have been exaggerated or anything to that effect. But when these stories are muddied, it does not land with voters. And I think this committee is doing a disservice to the memory of what happened on January 6th. I say that as somebody who was reporting on the scene there and saw how dangerous it was. This was serious. There was a serious security failure. I was back in the Capitol for the first time since January 6th yesterday, and people are frustrated with the security situation over there. And this committee is doing absolutely nothing to get to that. As you say, they're setting up for another episode. This is being produced by the former president of ABC News, and it's not constructive, and that's sad.
You make a great point, and Peter's reporting is important. A phenomenal, long-time White House reporter. A source close to the Secret Service tells me both Bobby Engel, the lead agent, and the presidential limousine SUV driver, because it wasn't the Beast, it was the SUV, are prepared to testify under oath that neither man was assaulted and that Mr. Trump never lunged for the steering wheel. Most importantly, we understand the committee's already interviewed Engel, so why haven't we heard that testimony come out? If it was corroborating, conceivably we would. You put this in a larger context, though, of what the committee is trying to accomplish. A, find the truth, take them at face value, but B, change minds. There's an election coming up in 2022, 2024 as well. You think about what's happened in the past week. Republicans have gotten gun rights from the Supreme Court. They've gotten 2 religious freedom cases, and Roe has been overturned. All of these are direct result of the Supreme Court that President Trump appointed. Is there any reason to believe that there are even sort of middle-of-the-road conservative voters who will be swayed by what they've heard at the January 6th committee that overshadows the happiness they feel from Trump's legacy still playing out?
It's an interesting question, because I absolutely think there are voters who are completely exacerbated with the Trump drama, and they have been since the very beginning. And that means if there's an alternative to Donald Trump, say a Ron DeSantis or somebody else who presents themselves as that blunt force object that will take on the media, just sort of go scorched earth, I think I think that's appealing to voters. At the same time, I just texted someone today how interesting I think it is that the Roe reversal is playing out as the same time as this January 6th hearing, because it's a reminder that Republicans said through 2015 and then into 2016 that the country is in such bad shape that they were willing to accept someone who was, violated all of these different norms of Republican politics, and in ways that often they didn't like, if he could do things like appoint a Supreme Court that would overturn Roe, that would protect gun rights and would have a good economy, and like the economy we're in now. Yeah. So I do absolutely think that, we've already sort of run this experiment, and Republican voters see Trump as a blunt force object, not some sort of magnanimous, virtuous character that they like because he's so virtuous.
Well said. Add to that, they've also shown that they're willing to have a non-blunt force object. You think about a Glenn Youngkin, Trump without the crazy, which was the point you just made. Hey, this was great, Emily. Thank you again.
Thank you, Leland.
Yeah, good conversation. Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.